Welcome back to the 2017 Pokemon Dallas Regional Championships. My name is Gabby Snyder. I'm here with Adam Doricott, and it's finally time. We have our two finalists ready to go. I am so excited for this match. Andrew Nowak versus Colin Heyer.
I am so excited for it. We've seen some really interesting play from both of them throughout the course of the day. They've had a really tough road to get here. Very deserving finalists, of course, but now they really want to go for the win. There's nobody in this finals who doesn't want to get the win. They want to take it home and be a regional champion. There's only one other regional champion in the 2017 format. So to put your mark on the format this early, especially with these teams that I think are newer, you may be the kind of person who definitely shapes the metagame for the upcoming events. You know, we've got a little break, we've got one regional in a couple of weeks, but the meta is always evolving. And both these players, I think, able to really make their mark on it. Things that win regionals get picked up, and everything builds off that. So you could say you invented something, maybe even Vikavolt if it makes it all the way there.
Yeah, I think that regardless of what happens, Vikavolt will start being a more standard Pokemon we see throughout the metagame. But, you know, Mudsdale as well, making an appearance on Andrew's team. There are certainly a lot of very interesting techs that these teams have that will certainly shape the metagame moving forward. And obviously, you know, having that regional champion title makes people that much more excited to sort of try out the strategies that you've outlined and see, you know, well, how can I make this work for me?
I think people as well, they like to take those regional teams, they like to put their own spin on it. So I'm really excited to see the evolution in the metagame. I'm really excited to just get into this match though. I mean, the play that we've seen from the top four and earlier rounds has been absolutely fantastic. Both players playing very interesting styles, I think, that suit them, and they really work in this metagame. So I'm excited. I want to get the teams up on screen so we can start having a look and having a little chat about them, even though we've already seen them before.
All right, let's do it. We've kept the audience waiting long enough. Andrew Nowak running Porygon 2, Mudsdale, Tapu Koko, Arachnid, Salamence, and Kartana versus Colin's team of Garchomp, Arcanine, Metagross, Tapu Fini, Vikavolt, and Porygon 2. Certainly a very interesting matchup, and Andrew going into this battle very confidently, selecting his lead very quickly.
No, he's really locked that in. One thing we haven't seen so much of today is the use of Porygon 2. I think it kind of didn't make the top cut as well. Players finding answers to it. Colin quickly following up the team selection. So both players very confident in what they want to do. Going to be a lot decided on the leads. Both these players in their top four matches relied on the leads and the pressure they applied to get their opponent under the thumb. So if they can do that to each other, it's going to be tough. Both these players were good at it, and it's really going to be a strategic matchup right from the get-go.
There is the Porygon 2 showing up on Colin's side of the field with the Vikavolt against the Tapu Koko and the Salamence combo from Andrew. So Colin making a very good read, I think, early on that Trick Room might be a good way to start slowly whittling down the health on Andrew's side of the field.
Especially with the two Pokemon Andrew leads with, they're very, very fast. They're very offensive, so he will be able to get the Trick Room up likely if he wants it. Vikavolt, unfortunately, not going to be able to benefit from that electric terrain. That would be really good if it could. He doesn't really have much answer to the two Pokemon on the field, though. Of course, Porygon, not very offensive. It could contain Ice Beam, could be able to knock it out, but it likely wants to get the Trick Room up before it starts to do that damage. I think Vikavolt isn't in the best position here. It will be able to take some hits. We have seen it be exceptionally bulky throughout the course of the day, and if Salamence is using something like a Flamethrower, it is going to be able to take it. It doesn't want to gamble with that at all, though.
We see Vikavolt switching out, Tapu Fini taking its place on Colin's side of the field, using this opportunity to get rid of the electric terrain, get rid of Tapu Koko's attack bonus from that move, and set up its own terrain in its place. Thunderbolt into that Porygon 2 doesn't deal a lot of damage, but Andrew with that devastating Drake Z move, looking to most likely stop that Porygon from the Trick Room. If he targets the Tapu Fini, we won't see any damage here, but I think it's going to go towards that Porygon.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to get rid of that Porygon. It is going to be going into that. Of course, the change there from Colin working really well in its favor. The change in terrain will weaken the effect of the damage type, the dragon type attack. So really good Porygon, not even under half health, free to set up the Trick Room, a staple of Colin's play for many years now. He gets that Trick Room up absolutely for free. A beautiful switch into the Tapu Fini to get Misty Terrain into play to mitigate that damage. And the double attack was a good call by Andrew, but Colin had an answer to it, and he gets what he wants at the end of this turn.
Yeah, that Tapu Fini, you know, at first glance, you think it looks kind of risky to send it in against that Tapu Koko. It really would not appreciate a Thunderbolt from it. But knowing that it brings in that misty terrain that'll both weaken the Thunderbolt and allow Porygon 2 to not take any damage from that Salamence was just an amazing play. We see Salamence switch out that Araquanid coming out on the field in its place, taking a tri-attack on the switch from the Porygon 2. Dazzling Gleam from that Tapu Fini will not do any damage to the Tapu Koko thanks to that Protect, but that Araquanid is already down into the yellow and it's already forced to consume its berry to get health back, so that Citrus Berry will be no use for it moving forwards.
No, Colin making a very good prediction there. What I love about the predict he's made there is he doesn't go for the Ice Beam, so Araquanid switching is definitely punished. It could have been even worse, of course, if he'd got the status effect on top of it, but he doesn't get it. So Colin picking up that Trick Room feels like he's got the momentum and I think making the right calls. Araquanid, though, using something brand new.
Wide guard from that Araquanid, most likely looking to stop that Dazzling Gleam. We did see on that first game the Tapu Fini is locked into that move, so we will not see any damage from it. It will miss the knockout on that Tapu Koko, allowing it to target the Tapu Fini with a Thunderbolt. And even though the electric terrain is not up, it just deals so much damage.
It really does, and a very interesting tech. We haven't seen many Araquanids running wide guard, so that helps. Obviously, Tapu Koko would have got knocked out if it had been caught by the Dazzling Gleam, and that does do something to slow down the pressure Colin was starting to build. It now makes him think twice about the moves he uses, and that's going to be really interesting for a mind game perspective as we move into not the end of this game, but also games 2 and 3. Tapu Koko, though, still suffering a little bit under the Trick Room. If it had its electric terrain up, it would have been able to get the knockout there. So that terrain change from Colin still paying off for him, still coming in big. But that Porygon is doing so much damage every single turn. It's not usually used for the damage, but the Tri-Attack just doing a lot every single turn it goes for something.
Colin switching out the Tapu Fini, sending the Vikavolt back on the field in its place. Araquanid with the Liquidation targeting that Vikavolt, deals a nice chunk of damage, gets the defense drop as well. Porygon 2 using Recover to regain all of the health that it's lost so far in this battle. If Tapu Koko targets that Vikavolt with the Thunderbolt, that could be huge. Unfortunately, it goes into the Porygon 2, doesn't deal enough damage, and actually knocks itself out thanks to that Life Orb hold item.
So at the beginning of the turn, or when Porygon 2 goes for the cover, it looks a little bit greedy. Obviously, he could just take the knockout with the Tri-Attack, probably on that Tapu Koko. Knowing his calculations, though, and probably a good gauge of that health bar, he knows that Life Orb is going to do it, so he manages to get even more out of that turn than he originally thought. The Liquidation getting the defense drop is going to be helpful for Andrew to get back into this game, especially with the Kartana hitting the field and Trick Room ticking down as we go. But Vikavolt switching really paying off there. Tapu Fini saved for later. Will probably be hard to bring in, though, especially knowing that the Kartana is on Andrew's side of the field.
Araquanid going for a Protect this turn, a very defensive play from Andrew, who could have knocked out either of the Pokemon on Colin's side of the field, but wanting to whittle down those Trick Room turns. We see Bug Buzz from that Vikavolt targeting the Kartana, and Porygon 2 with the Ice Beam also into the Kartana, and just like that, Trick Room is over, and we also see the removal of the Misty Terrain from the battlefield.
No, but Tapu Fini will be able to bring that in, so if that's something Colin feels is important coming into the back end of this game, he does have that option. A very smart Protect by Andrew, though. He does need to get through the back end of Trick Room. He calls the damage coming down. He knows that he can double Protect, Trick Room will be back. Now Kartana is a real threat. It does have Sacred Sword, so it will be able to put big damage down on the Porygon. I imagine something to do with the Vikavolt, so definitely a good time for Trick Room to end. It's going to be a bit treacherous for Colin to try and set up Trick Room again with that Porygon, especially with the Araquanid and the Kartana able to double target it. But if you go for that double target, you leave Vikavolt able to do some big damage.
Sacred Sword into the Porygon 2, but it survives. Vikavolt moving next, using that Thunderbolt to target the Araquanid for that knockout. So if Porygon 2 wants Trick Room up here, it certainly can use this opportunity to get it, and it does. Just hanging on for long enough to bring the speed back into Colin's favor.
Interesting to look at how Colin's staged his Vikavolt, how he's trained it. He knows that coming out of Trick Room, he will be moving before the Araquanid, so maybe Andrew training that Araquanid to deal with Trick Room in a way. Of course, Vikavolt getting that knockout was huge. It manages to keep the Porygon safe, so Araquanid maybe looking to follow up with a big Liquidation there, and getting Trick Room back up is exceptional, especially because the two Pokemon remaining for Andrew are these fast Pokemon, the Salamence and the Kartana, so they're going to have to weather the storm. We know know the Porygon, of course, has Ice Beam, which is going to do an absolute number on that Salamence, but not this turn.
No, Salamence making a great protect here, worried about that Ice Beam coming out from the Porygon. Bug Buzz from the Vikavolt targeting the Kartana, though, leaving it with just 1 HP, activating its Focus Sash. If Colin double targeted that Kartana, it will be knocked out. Unfortunately, he did use the Ice Beam into the Salamence, and Leaf Blade from that Kartana will knock the Porygon 2 out.
Even though he's at a Pokemon disadvantage, Andrew's still making the right plays. Colin slightly misstepping, could have predicted that protect on the Salamence and got rid of that Kartana, leaving just Salamence facing the Ice Beam carrying Porygon, but a slight mispredict. Maybe he thought that there wasn't a Focus Sash on it. It's not something we've seen on every Kartana so far this tournament, so very interesting. And Tapu Fini now coming in is going to be able to do a really good job. If it has Dazzling Gleam, of course that's going to hit the Salamence effectively. It's going to do enough to take away that Focus Sash health that's remaining, and Vikavolt can also follow up with very good neutral damage.
Salamence with a second protect here, desperately trying to stall out the remainder of this Trick Room. Kartana following suit with a protect of its own. So we know that the Vikavolt will target the Salamence with that Thunderbolt and most likely see a spread move in the form of a Dazzling Gleam from that Tapu Fini. It won't deal any damage this turn, but again, that's one less turn of Trick Room Andrew has to worry about.
He's still got so many turns of Trick Room to get through, though. I mean, you can only protect for so long. Kartana, if he gets hit by anything, of course, is going to get knocked out, and Salamence is going to have to pull its weight here. I don't think he has enough in the tank, especially with the threat of Dazzling Gleam. It's going to be doing a whole heap of damage on that Salamence. Both the Pokemon really flourishing in the Trick Room. So Colin bringing back one of his favorite strategies to great effect in this game one.
We see a third attempt at protect by the Salamence, a second attempt for protect by the Kartana. Unfortunately, the Salamence does not successfully protect, and it will be subjected to this Thunderbolt from the Vikavolt, bringing it down to below half health. This Dazzling Gleam from the Tapu Fini most likely finishing it up. So a great attempt by Andrew to sort of play his win condition, try and stall out that Trick Room. Unfortunately, though, it's just not enough. You know, Protect only has a 30% chance of activating on subsequent turns, and even though it's great that he made the attempt to try and stall it out, it's just not a strategy that you can count on consistently.
No, and I think Colin bringing out something he didn't bring out in a previous round to great effect. I really enjoy that play. Andrew's going to have to be a little bit more careful about letting that Trick Room go up. He did manage to get it up twice in that game, so you have to kind of ask, did he have a proper answer to it? If he doesn't, it's going to be a really hard game 2 and potentially 3 for Andrew. There are answers in his team. I think he just needs to adapt in team preview and bring those answers to the forefront of this battle.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said before today, I think Colin is one of those trainers that's really known well for his Trick Room strategies, and that just shows why. You know, he was able to maintain field control throughout the entirety of that match, getting those Trick Rooms up exactly when he needed them. And Andrew's going to have to play by those rules, I think, if he wants to win Game 2 and bring this to a Game 3. He has the Porygon 2, he has the Mudsdale on his team. Even the Araquanid is traditionally a very slow Pokemon. We might need to see him play all 3 of those to possibly have a chance to, again, defeat Colin in this next game and bring it to that Game 3.
There was definitely some interesting things you saw out of Andrew, though. The wide guard coming in clutch definitely bought him a little more time in this game. I think he's going to need more big plays like that. Hopefully he's got a couple more surprises to catch Colin off guard. If he doesn't manage to catch Colin off guard early on, or even at a crucial point in the game, Colin seemed very comfortable in playing his own game. It wasn't really answered by Andrew, and letting that get just set up on you is not good at all. Trick Room has been very popular in the recent weeks. Not something he's going to try with his lead in this game, though. Going to mix it up on Colin as well.
Arcanine and Vikavolt on Colin's side of the field, Kartana and Salamence on Andrew's side of the field. Again, we see both of the Intimidates come into play, intimidating the Arcanine, the Vikavolt, the Kartana, and the Salamence. So definitely a weakened attacking potential from the Kartana and the Arcanine, but given Colin's lead, I doubt that Kartana was going to stick around for long anyways.
No, Kartana can stick around a little bit longer. It does know it has the Focus Sash there, so that could be really good. I think Andrew is definitely going to be scared of the Tapu Fini switching again. We saw how effective it was for Colin in Game 1, so it's something that Andrew has to think about as he moves into this game and locks in his moves for turn 1. It's really nice to get big damage down with that Salamence. Would be able to get rid of one of the threats on Colin's team, but not when Tapu Fini comes in. Very curious to see what switch he makes. If he does go for a similar switch to Game 1, the onus is definitely on Andrew to capitalize on that and punish it for him. That will get Colin under his thumb, and I think that will help Andrew build some momentum as we start the second game.
All right, both these trainers, taking their time, bringing the move timer down to just 5 seconds. Colin switching out the Vikavolt for the Tapu Fini. A great switch by Colin there. Again, using the defensive potential of that Misty Surge, knowing that Salamence is on the field and knowing that it's most likely going to use a Dragon-type move, but Kartana capitalizing on that switch beautifully with that Leaf Blade. Salamence unfortunately targeting the Tapu Fini with a Flamethrower. So the combination of those two doesn't deal enough damage for the knockout, but I don't think that was what Andrew was going for there. He certainly made the best of knowing that there could be a switch, there could not be a switch. He made a great safe play and brought that Tapu Fini down to really no health at all, while Arcanine was just left to snarl and, again, further weaken that Salamence.
A very smart play by Andrew. Pretty much convinced something is going to happen in that slot. He doubles into it with two very different moves. Obviously, Leaf Blade catches the Tapu Fini on the switch in and does great damage. Then he covers his options with the Flamethrower, which was aiming for the Vikavolt. So either way, he was going to be getting big damage down. Obviously not that concerned about the Arcanine because he has the Araquanid that he's just switched in.
Yeah, we see the Araquanid take the field in place of the Salamence. Kartana with a critical hit on that Leaf Blade for the knockout onto Tapu Fini, activating its Beast Boost. And Arcanine going for the Flare Blitz. If this targets the Kartana, it'll bring it down to... Actually, wait, no, it'll knock it out because the Snarl broke that Focus Sash in turn 1. So a great play by Colin. Despite the fact that we did see the Beast Boost activate and that he lost his Tapu Fini, he was still able to knock out the Kartana. Unfortunately, though, if Andrew brought that Tapu Koko, it can now bring it in and possibly set the terrain in his favor and not have to worry about Colin using the Misty Terrain as a defensive possibility for his team.
No, it would be really nice for Arcanine. Obviously he wants to snarl that Salamence again. That's something he's looking to do, but if he has the Tapu Koko, then he opens up the door to that devastating Drake again. That's something that would be helpful, particularly with the Arcanine, not so much for the Metagross, but Metagross is kind of up against it here. I think there's going to be a lot of damage coming down from Andrew's side of the field this time. Obviously no Trick Room, so it looks like Andrew's Pokemon will be moving first, but Salamence scared of the Snarl, putting the pressure on Araquanid to carry it this turn.
We see Arcanine and Salamence protect this turn. Metagross and Araquanid will be the only Pokemon to attack Metagross, targeting that Araquanid with a Zen Headbutt. It doesn't deal enough damage for the knockout. We will see the berry activate on that Araquanid, bringing its health back up thanks to the Citrus Berry, and Liquidation from Araquanid targeting that Metagross as well. But again, it only brings it down to approximately half health.
Very smart play from both players on a couple of levels. Obviously, Andrew protects the Salamence, but he doesn't really need to because there's nothing coming out in that slot. So that Protect kind of wasted. And then on the same way, the Protect on the Arcanine from Colin obviously wants to keep it safe from the Liquidation. Then Andrew reads that and throws the Liquidation at Metagross. So both players trying to predict those Protects and getting it pretty much spot on in that turn, which I really love.
Metagross protecting this turn, not ready to get knocked out just quite yet. Araquanid with a Wide Guard, which is a very interesting play, possibly looking to stop the Snarl. Salamence using Flamethrower to target that Metagross, and Arcanine does indeed go for the Snarl. So we will not see any special attack drops on Andrew's side of the field. A great read there by him.
Araquanid changing the role that it usually takes. We see a lot of Araquanids going for offense, going for liquidations and lunges. Adding this wide guard, though, opens up an option, and in this case, it's protecting his Salamence really, really well. He doesn't get any damage put on it, he doesn't get his special attack lowered, while Metagross just protects to pretty much no avail. So now Metagross is liable to get hit by the Flamethrower, which might be able to get the knockout, and Arcanine has to be really scared of using the Snarl. It's a great mind game to be playing.
We see the Flamethrower target the Metagross from Salamence. It is enough to knock it out, unfortunately, for that Metagross. We see Arcanine go for the Snarl, so it will not be blocked by Wide Guard this turn. Araquanid and Salamence's special attack will fall another stage. Araquanid, though, is free to use that Liquidation to target the Arcanine if it's enough for a knockout, or if it's a critical hit, it could be huge. We see the knockout even without a critical hit, just going to show you how powerful that Araquanid is, especially paired with its Water Bubble ability.
I love Andrew's play in that turn. What he does is he knows that he hasn't been snarled, so he'll still be able to get the knockout on Metagross. He doesn't then follow up with a Wide Guard, which is something that Colin obviously wasn't too scared of that turn, but Arcanine just got knocked out because of it. There was no answer in that for Arcanine really to beat the Pokemon that were on the field, so Arcanine wasn't doing much, and now that Vikavolt finally returning to the field and just seeing a forfeit as soon as it flies in there.
Yeah, I don't think Colin is ready to reveal all of his Vikavolt secrets quite yet. We do know that there is going to be a Game 3, and it's going to be really close. Andrew making some great adjustments in Game 2. It's all up to Colin now to figure out how he wants to respond. We did not see him bring Trick Room this game, and that might have been why he lost.
I think both players in their wins have just controlled the game from Game 1. So a lot more thought in this team preview on their leads. We saw very quick lock-ins last time, so I think Andrew just kind of knew another option. We are going to see a very, very fast lock-in from Colin, though. He's actually already locked in before we've even changed the screen back over, so Colin 100% confident in what he's going to be doing with this team. And Andrew actually the one took a little more time, and he's about to drop his leads on the field. So I think the player who wins the lead, based on what I've seen in games 1 and 2, may actually be able to win the game, win the finals, win the regionals.
Yeah, there is a lot riding on this Masters Finals match. We have some prize money, we have some championship points, we have the prestige of winning one of the first 2017 regionals that actually takes place in 2017. We see Porygon 2 and Tapu Fini out on the field for Colin, and Salamence and Kartana on the field for Andrew. So it definitely looks like Colin is looking to get that Trick Room back up and start using that speed to his advantage.
Yeah, Colin knows that the Trick Room was his win, so he's going for it again. Of course, the lead from Andrew's side of the field, very, very offensive, maybe trying to get down that damage to double attack the Porygon, but the Tapu Fini in the lead, not even being switched in this time, means Devastating Drake probably isn't an option. It's just not going to do enough to that Porygon. So it looks like Colin's fairly safe to set up Trick Room. Maybe Tapu Fini can do something. It needs to be a little bit careful of this Kartana in particular. We've seen how much damage the Leaf Blade will do. So I think the pressure is on Andrew to find a way to stop the Trick Room. Switching out probably isn't going to help him too much. He's just setting up for the future.
Yeah, definitely. That Araquanid switch in is definitely Andrew's attempt at possibly stalling out that Trick Room in the future. Leaf Blade from Kartana. It's a critical hit. It'll knock out Tapu Fini before it can even attack. It activate Kartana's Beast Boost, which is definitely a good thing moving forward. We see no Trick Room either from that Porygon 2. Instead, targeting that Kartana with an Ice Beam, and thanks to that download boost, it's actually able to bring it down to its Focus Sash.
I think Colin wasn't expecting to get knocked out there. I think he was expecting Andrew to predict the Protect or predict a switch perhaps, and Leaf Blade not go into that slot. Unfortunately, Andrew just goes with what seems to be a bit of a gut instinct, throwing out the Leaf Blade, and with the help of a critical hit maybe, taking a knockout on the Tapu Fini. So very good play for Andrew. That's the kind of lead he needs. I think Colin a little bit scared of the Trick Room because of something like the Araquanid that he did see from Andrew in both games. So doesn't get the knockout though. So Porygon didn't do enough that turn. An easy knockout though for Colin going into turn 2.
Yeah, Metagross finishing up the job, knocking out that Kartana with a Bullet Punch before it can even attack and take advantage of the Beast Boost. We see the Araquanid move next with the Liquidation, which means Porygon 2 is definitely using this opportunity to set up Trick Room. That Liquidation bringing Metagross down to just above half health.
No, that's really nice, and obviously whatever Colin has remaining is something that is going to flourish under Trick Room. It might be the Vikavolt, and if it is, that's going to be a fantastic answer, of course, to this Araquanid. Tapu Koko, though, coming out, that's going to suffer in the Trick Room. That's an exceptionally fast Pokemon. It does get control of the terrain, though, so when Salamence comes back in, it's going to be able to do more. He's obviously planning for the future, but I think Andrew needs to get through these turns of Trick Room, see if he can maybe stall them out or pick up a couple of cheeky knockouts as we move through the game, and I think he'll be good if he can do that. That's really the onus on Andrew now to play smart for the next 4 or 5 turns.
Yeah, Metagross is definitely the biggest threat for him right now. That Tapu Koko really not appreciating any of its Steel-type attacks. So Tapu Koko, the Pokemon to protect, I think Araquanid certainly can knock out that Metagross. We've seen it deal a ton of damage to that Metagross. Protect on the Tapu Koko, so definitely looking to try and knock out that Metagross before it attacks, but the Liquidation targets that Porygon 2 and lowers its defense. Porygon 2 with the tri-attack into the Araquanid. If Colin targeted the Araquanid here with the Meteor Mash, that could be huge, but unfortunately he attacks into that protecting Tapu Koko.
Even though Andrew doesn't have the speed control he wants in the field, he still manages to make a lot out of that turn, getting some good damage down on Porygon. Of course, he has to be a little bit careful of it getting the recover set up, something it's easily able to do in the Trick Room. But that protect on the Tapu Koko, keeping it safe from the Metagross, very, very good. He needs to keep Tapu Koko safe for a little bit, I think, and that's just what he's doing.
No protects this turn. Liquidation from that Araquanid into the Porygon 2, and it actually knocks it out. thanks to that defense drop it got in the previous turn. We see Metagross with the Meteor Mash into the Tapu Koko. It does connect, but it doesn't actually knock it out. It's able to target that Metagross with a Thunderbolt. Thanks to the Electric Terrain boost and that Life Orb boost, it does the damage needed. We see it take some recoil. It's left with just a sliver of health, and Colin looks like he's really just fighting for this title at this point.
He's really up against it now. Andrew, going against most people's kind of theory on the game is you have to be careful. If you don't want Trick Room, you have to play defensively in it. He knows Araquanid will flourish under the Trick Room, and he gets himself into a really great position here. Vikavolt is now against these two on the field, and there's a Salamence hiding in the back. So it looks like Andrew Nowak, even though he dropped game 1, bringing it back in game 2, and game 3 is looking to be in his hands. Just going to make a couple of safe plays, and I think he's got it. I think Andrew Nowak could be our regional champion.
Yeah, it is so close. We see Araquanid target the Vikavolt with that liquidation. It deals a ton of damage, activating the berry on that Vikavolt, bringing its health almost back up to full. Thunderbolt from the Vikavolt targeting the Araquanid, and Tapu Koko will be able to target this Vikavolt with a Thunderbolt that should most likely knock it out, but going for a Dazzling Gleam instead. Vikavolt holding on, Tapu Koko taking Life Orb recoil damage. It has one more attack left in it.
Vikavolt actually putting up a big show, that berry coming in clutch while Andrew looks like he's got it sealed up. He is, of course, going to have to fight through and make sure he knocks out the Vikavolt. If Vikavolt has something that does spread damage, I don't think it does. That is going to be the only way out of it for him, I think. Tapu Koko, if it had knocked itself out with the recoil from the Life Orb, then it would have been in a winning position potentially, but not quite enough. A good calculation from Andrew to know he's free to attack and not get knocked out by his own Life Orb. So with both these Pokemon on the field and Vikavolt not able to knock both of them out at once, even though it will be going first under the Trick Room, I think he's in a good position, but an interesting protect here from Andrew.
Yeah, Salamence protecting, Tapu Koko protecting, stalling out that last turn of Trick Room, ensuring that it will be able to outspeed that Vikavolt and not let Colin knock out any of the Pokemon left out on the field. An amazing play by him, knowing his win condition, knowing exactly what he needs to claim this regional championship title. As long as he's able to attack this Vikavolt in the next turn, the title is his. He could be possibly, most likely be your next regional champion here in Dallas. And we see Colin click in that forfeit. So Andrew Nowak, congratulations. He is now the 2017 Dallas Regional Championships, but congratulations to Colin as well. That was an amazing set by both of them.
No, very well played, and I love how Andrew played in that last game. Wasn't scared of the Trick Room. That's something that, with the recent flourish in it and the build-up towards it, people are saying it's the best thing around. Obviously it's not, and Andrew knows how to play under it. That was absolutely fantastic play from him, and we're going to get a little bit of insight from him on how that actually went and what his thought process was when he looked a little bit up against it early in game 3. So I think we're going to take a very short break while we get him ready, and then we're going to bring him back in for an interview. Really?
Yeah. You need it more than me at this point. You did great that round. You really did great.
Yeah, I felt really good about that one. Welcome back to the Dallas Regional Championships. Play has concluded, and I am fortunate enough to get some time to speak to your new regional champion, Andrew Novak. How are you feeling right now, Andrew?
I'm a little more relieved than anything. That was a long couple days. I had a lot of stressful sets, so I'm just kind of glad it's all over. So.
But you got the win, so that must feel absolutely fantastic.
It feels really nice to win because I didn't have a team until Friday morning at about 5 in the morning when I asked Edu for a team. He's like, yeah, I have this team for you. You can borrow it if you want. And I tested a couple games like, this is perfect. And I felt it was a really good meta call, and I think that showed today. So.
Yeah, is it a little bit different to what you were testing with before? Like, were you kind of building around this to begin with, or was it something completely new to you that you've just picked up really quickly?
It was something I picked up really quickly because I was like testing Snorlax cheese for like the past week because I thought belly jump Snorlax is pretty good. Then it's like, I don't think this is the call for like a long day because crits are a thing, and I really didn't want to play the RNG game, and I felt this team was just a lot safer. So
how did it run over the course of the 2 days? Obviously, you top cut quite comfortably yesterday, and then really, obviously, solid run in the top cut matches today. Were there any games that you thought were tough, or did you just feel comfortable with the team throughout the duration of the tournament?
I mean, I felt really comfortable with the team all through the tournament. I mean, there were a couple hiccups here and there, like especially in finals. Like I didn't know Vikavolt outsped Arachnoid, so that was kind of a big deal. But I felt fine to adjust, and I mean, I think that kind of showed. So
I don't think anyone's that shocked. Vikavolt only really appearing this weekend. It's probably the first outing it's had, so I don't think anyone's going to hold it against you. That you didn't know that little tidbit of information.
Yeah, I thought it was like base 40, but apparently it's not. So
yeah, it's a little bit quicker than you think. It's kind of in this weird middle in speed. So you've now won a regional in the 2017 format. It's a brand new format. How do you feel about it overall compared to previous years? I know you played last year, had really good performances then. Do you enjoy it this year a little bit more, or are you feeling different?
Oh, this format is like by far way better than any other format I played in. It gives you like, it's not like in 2016 where it's like, oh, I don't have a good team matchup, I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna get bodied. It's now you can have Pokemon like Arachnoid or something like that where it's these new Pokemon just allow you to adjust so much better to games, and I feel like it allows to play more defensively, and I like that a lot. So
yeah, so I've been talking a lot about play styles on the desk here today. Would you say you're a more defensive player? Because honestly, in the finals, you've got some really good offensive plays going. Is that something you've adapted to this year, or something you've just always known how to do?
I mean, I've always considered myself a hyper-offensive player. Like, that was, like, kind of the struggle this year is, like, getting to adapt to, like, the more defensive play style. But now that we're into it, I feel like I was able to put that into my repertoire a little bit better. And I think, I mean, the hyper-offensive reads are nice. Like, that, like it showed there. And against Twice Out against Nails, like, I can still, like, I can switch, like, on and off whenever, like, I feel like it. So I feel like that gave me an advantage over a couple people. So
it definitely showed. The games we showed on screen, you looked like you had that mode in your pocket. You were really comfortable playing it. Congratulations on the win. I'm sure you're exhausted. I know a number of us are exhausted here. Before we leave, briefly, anyone you want to shout out to? I know you've had some help with the team, so now is your time to thank them.
I want to give a shout out to the people I roomed with today, Whitney Johnson, Ethan Simpson, Jeremy Rodriguez. Then I want to give a shout out to everyone from like California, Giovanni Costa, Patrick Smith, James Eakes, Alberto Lara, Riley Factura. Just like being able to keep me loose all weekend was really nice, and I appreciate it a lot. So
having those friends around is definitely a good thing. Well, we're going to cut to one more short break. We're going to come back with a couple of notices before we leave. Congratulations again, Andrew. I'm sure this regional win is very relieving, and I hope to see you at a tournament again soon.